Whispers, don't you stay. A count, shadows stretched so long. Footsteps fade, where do I belong? Oh, heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Don't you stay. The stars, they glimmer, speak of pain. Each grain of sand, it knows my name. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Oh, heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. The gungroos chime, a distant call. Her anklets sing, rise, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Her anklets sing a poem from silence deep. New ones are born. Peacocks cry in the storm's embrace. Clouds that gather leave no trace. Dreams like bangles shattered, worn from silence deep. New ones are born. Shift, I sway the wind. Whispers, don't you stay. A count, shadows stretched so long. Footsteps fade, where do I belong? Oh, heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Don't you stay. The stars, they glimmer, speak of pain. Each grain of sand, it knows my name. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Oh, heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. The gungroos chime, a distant call. Her anklets sing, rise, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Can you hear it, the voice Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. The gurus chime, a distant call. Her anklets sing, rise, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Her anklets sing a poem from silence deep. New ones are born.
Hello, everybody. It is now my pleasure to announce that we have come to the final segment for our Global Workplace Wellbeing Summit. And again, I've come back with yet again beautiful panel members who are not just speakers but also catalysts of well being in their own ways, coming with their own experiences and bringing new insights for all of us, just as our previous three segment speakers did. We talked a lot today about things that we're getting wrong, things that we're doing well, really talking about who is at the end of the day accountable. Is it the individual? Is it the leadership? Is it resources? Is it behaviors? Is it lack of clarity? And so many things have come up throughout the entire day. And now I have a fresh new set of panel members here today. But before we begin, we will do a quick round of recap. And for this recap, I'd like to introduce Belem Ortega, who was there in the previous segment. And Belem, if you could just give us a roundup of what we were talking about in the previous segment.
Yes, of course. I was really, I loved how the speakers shared their different perspectives and how much we can bring to the table as we select as maybe a specific topic to talk about. And I really think that was really, it was super rich to the conversation. Like every one of us having discussing several topics. I mean, I never thought like to speak about artificial intelligence, for example, and so one of the speakers bring it on to the table, and I was delighted. Like all those different like shapes of how we can discuss or how the discussion can go, right? It was really rich.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yes, we did talk quite a lot about the systems. Mostly the most interesting thing was definitely the indicator of a system failure, which came down to being little behaviors of people that we sort of ignore or maybe don't see very clearly. And we had a length of discussion around why leadership would not be able to see these behaviors and whether they can build better skill sets to indicate these system failures so that we don't reach to sort of a higher risk later where we have team members going through burnout or exhaustion or even bigger challenges. Thank you so much. So you stay, of course, as part of our conversation for segment four. I will now bring into the platform all of our speakers for today. So I would request all of you to please keep your cameras on so when you come in, you will be visible and you will be live. Right. Just give me a moment. Okay, perfect. Susanna, your screen has gone blank, so just wait for you to hop in when you can. Perfect. All right. Okay. Our first conversation to get us sort of warmed up and started today is is very interesting because we've been talking about well-being and things that we've been getting wrong overall. But this is again one more ironic statement that we have, and here it comes. Yeah. Before I read it, I'm going to project it. So here it is. We've had a whole day in this entire summit, and I've been listening so carefully to everyone about things that we're getting wrong. And even after multiple conversations, even after today's conversations, what are we still getting wrong about well being at work? We're still getting something wrong. And that's again a question for our fresh new set of panel members. How this will go is if you could tell us something about yourself, please introduce yourself, like 1 minute, couple of words, and then share your thoughts on this particular question. And the question still stands very strong since the morning. What are we still getting wrong about well being at work? I'd like to start with Monica. Monica, if you could start.
Yes. So I'm Monica Bloom, and I worked in San Francisco, Los Angeles in creative staffing. So we got people jobs, and I have an Ayurvedic background. So I've been teaching Ayurveda for almost 20 years, and I've written 2 books. And so I was kind of a strange leader in where they could come to me for business things, but also close the door and have other conversations about stressful things that was going on in their life because they knew that was my jam. They would ask me different things. So I think what we are doing wrong, at least right now, is I think we are trying to make a blanket assumption that there is one solution to solve all individual people's problems at work, like for example the well-being apps and the coaching platforms and the things. First of all, ayurvedically speaking, a lot of it's still just on our phone or on our screens, so we're overusing our eyes and not using fully our 5 senses at work, which is Ayurveda's foundation, right? And so I think what we're doing wrong is we're relying too much on this, where this should be a really people, human focused conversation about where people might be struggling. On one hand, from the employee to have the bravery and vulnerability to talk to their leader. And on the other hand, to have a leader that is, I know a lot of leaders are empathetic. It's why they do what they do, or they're very highly successful. So they know the business. It's why they do what they do. But there are few leaders that have both maybe the kind of therapy side of being a leader, which I know that's not the same. But some leaders have a really empathetic, human focused side to leading, and other ones have the business. So, what happens is when all of these different characters come in and they need help, we're trying to like blanket solve things through apps and through general coaching and things like that, where it really takes an individual approach. And that's hard to do because as leaders, you are not you're not trained in that. You're trained in the business that you're in, and you've done a good job, which is why you're a leader in that field. But then you have all these characters that are coming to you with all their problems and the things that they're really struggling with. And I think sometimes we can lean too far over on maybe either side, maybe the personal side or the business side of things, and we need to strike a nice balance in the middle and use our 5 senses to listen to people and to be with them maybe in a room and talk together about what's happening instead of just relying on this and be like, we have a program, you should log in and you should, there's stuff in there for you. And it's like, it feels isolating for people to actually talk through things. That's my take.
Much, Monica. I'd now like to request Devasmita Sinha to take it ahead.
Thank you so much, Shivani. Excited to be here. I am Devasmita. I work with Mana Wellness as the chief psychologist, uh, trained as a therapist, but wearing the lens of someone who's been involved heavily in workplace well-being, working as an expert here for years. So I've been listening to the conversation since morning today, and one of the things that I thought kept coming up again and again were how much the leaders need to do. The leaders need to shift their lens. They need to start looking at well-being as a strategy, not just as initiatives. And I couldn't help wonder that we sometimes forget that the leaders are also operating within the same larger forces, right? And another thought to that is that these are the visible leaders, the ones who are out there, the ones who are speaking about it, or as you rightly said, they are trained in their functions, not really trained to talk about well-being, right? But what about the invisible leaders, who are not out there, but they are the real decision makers? Right. So I think these are some of the factors, if I may just sort of summarize that. One, there are leaders who are not visible, who are making decisions, large decisions that impact organizations, impact the direction that organizations are going to take, policies that are being framed, and there are market forces that are dictating these decisions. And when we look at well-being as a workplace problem without taking these into account, I think we are missing out a big piece of the picture. So that's what I think at the end of the day, we still haven't got that right.
Thank you so much, Devasmita. I'm requesting Gabriel to please quickly translate what we're talking about for Suzanne and also our audience that's watching from different regions. So if you could just quickly summarize Devasmita's words for us. Oh, you're on mute. You've gone on mute. So if you mute, yes. No, it's still on mute for some reason.
Let me check. How about now?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, I've been struggling a little bit with my connection. I apologize, and I'm not able to translate what has been said until now, but I will be taking notes and be able to translate now on.
Okay, perfect. That works. So anyway, we will now hear from Will.
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
having
I
a
hear
little
you.
bit of difficulty with
I'm
my connection. Sorry.
requesting, yeah, I'm just requesting William.
Hi, everybody. Bill McPeck, and I'm coming to you from the beautiful state of Maine in the northeast corner of the United States. As I reflect on the question, what are we still getting wrong? I have an overall impression, and then I've got 6 specific areas that I think we're still getting wrong. And I think the overall impression that I have is that we're still treating well-being or wellness, depending on which term you want to use. And for the sake of this conversation, I think they're the same thing. Just 2 different words to explain the same concept. I think what we're getting wrong overall is that we're trying to do wellness and well-being as a separate separate from the work itself, that we're trying to layer or bolt onto work wellness and well-being rather than taking a look at how the work is creating the well-being or the wellness of the employee. So as Monica has nicely identified, over the last probably 50 some odd years, we've taken and we've really moved the awareness of wellness and well-being forward, and we've created all kinds of different programmings and apps and platforms to help out, and they really do help out. But what I think we're still missing is that people experience wellness and well-being through the work itself, through the workload, through the manager relationship, through the pace of the work, and the degree of control that the individual employee has over their work and workflow. So looking at that overall, I think specifically, as I've said, we're still trying to do wellness and well-being as a program, as opposed to it being a property of the work itself. Secondly, again, as Monica identified, we're still tending to treat wellness and well-being as an individual responsibility on the part of the employee, rather than a shared responsibility on the part of the employer and the employee. And I think we're beginning to turn that ship a little bit, as I see things right now. And another thing that I think we're doing wrong is that we're looking at well-being and wellness from a comfort perspective, and that we're trying to make work easier and better for the employee, rather than addressing the root causes of the issue in the first place, which is the nature of the work and the workplace environment. As has already been identified as well, I think we're really underestimating the role that leadership plays in well-being. And then, as I said before too, overall, we're still trying to treat wellness and well-being as a side hustle or a side strategy, something that we're layering on to well-being, or to that we're layering onto the workplace or to the work. That we're trying to support people without getting at the issues that are creating the strain and the stress in the first place. So, as those are the issues that I see, and we're doing some good things too. I mean, I think as I've said, we've really raised the awareness regarding this issue, and I think that's something that we're doing right, and more employers are jumping on. So that's something that we're doing right as well. So to me, it boils down to a deeper question that we tend not to ask, and that is, instead of asking what can we do to better support employees, I think we need to ask, what kind of a work system are we creating that will support employees and help employees to live up to their capacity, and to create a system that employees can operate without getting depleted or exhausted, which is a huge issue today. It's often called burnout, but I don't think it's necessarily burnout syndrome. I think it's more depletion and exhaustion, because we're more often than not extracting from employees rather than supporting employees and allowing employees to recover. So those are my thoughts as to what we're doing wrong, and a little bit of what we're doing right too.
Thank you. Gabriel?
Excellent. Yes, of course. I hope I got the key ideas from William. I'm going to translate right now and switching to Spanish, so the Spanish speakers can follow the ideas. Básicamente lo que William nos está compartiendo es que seguimos cometiendo algunos errores. Él identifica ideas claves para nosotros para seguir trabajando en reflexionar, porque al menos en la parte de los conceptos y en la manera como nos referimos al bienestar, en inglés se manejan estos dos conceptos, well-being y wellness. En español creo que es un poco complicado traducir como esa dificultad de conceptos porque lo traducimos de la misma manera, bienestar, tanto well-being como wellness, pero pudiera ser como esta distinción entre salud y bienestar, que creo que es a lo que se refiere William, y que seguimos manejando estos dos conceptos como algo diferente y que deberíamos tratarlos más bien como un conjunto y que deberíamos dejar de tomarlos como programas aislados y que son cosas que debemos seguir reflexionando y que seguimos fallando, ¿no? En tomar estas perspectivas. Después, otra idea que me parece muy interesante es que seguimos viendo el bienestar como algo individual y que es algo que necesitamos trabajar para poder compartir la responsabilidad del bienestar, no solamente entre los empleados o entre ciertos individuos, sino que como todo un sistema o toda una comunidad. Después, también habla sobre que parece que el bienestar es solamente esta perspectiva de hacer las cosas más cómodas y más fáciles, en lugar de enfocarnos realmente en las causas raíces de los problemas y que al final del día van a ser los que van a seguir como perpetuando este tipo de situaciones, ¿no? Después, dice que también tenemos que pensar en las diferentes maneras en las que las personas están viviendo este tipo de estrés y malestares y cómo nosotros podemos seguir esforzándonos en encontrar realmente cuáles son esos motivos por los cuales las personas siguen sintiendo este tipo de situaciones en el trabajo, porque en un trabajo, incluso la misma carga de trabajo, la misma influencia en la comunidad de los compañeros, los líderes, siguen teniendo una parte importante en el bienestar. Y al final, en lugar de preguntarnos qué podemos hacer para apoyar a los líderes en estos términos, en el sentido de que entiendan como estos conceptos y esto como una estrategia, y simplemente como programas o acciones, también hay que preguntarnos cómo crear sistemas que inclusive el mismo empleado pueda ser partícipe de esa dinámica y que al final no sea algo tampoco exhaustivo porque es algo que podemos cometer el riesgo de cansar a nuestros propios empleados entrándonos en esa dinámica, ¿no? Eso es lo que logré rescatar de los puntos de William. I'll be trying to be short on the next participation, but I hope that I got the main ideas from William's participation.
Thank you so much. Are we ready? We would like to hear from Susanna.
¿Estamos listos, Susan? Estamos listos para escucharte.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Gracias por la traducción. Yo trabajo en organizaciones desde hace mucho tiempo y mi enfoque es más por ahí pensando en cómo funcionamos los humanos. Entonces creo que hay algo en el humano que todavía tenemos todos y que viene desde siempre, que es la necesidad de pertenecer a la manada. Yo creo que este es el gran elemento que hace que esto que está silencioso, pero en definitiva es determinante, hemos confundido algunas cosas, la sobreimplicancia con compromiso, la sobreexigencia con disponibilidad, y creo que todo el mundo queriendo agradar se esfuerza más de la cuenta. Creo que ahí se rompe el bienestar, ahí se rompen los límites y entonces creo que la intervención que deberíamos hacer todo el tiempo es de arriba hacia abajo, entendiendo que es una necesidad, tal como expresaban recién, es una necesidad, es salud. No podemos construir algo sobre nuestro propio abandono.
Excelente, eso sería todo, Susan.
Sí, si quieres
Perfecto.
traducirlo.
Perfecto, muchas gracias. Igual voy a intentar hacerlo de la mejor manera posible. So Susan is explaining to us that she has been working with many companies through all her experience or through her work years. So she's really interested in how human works, how humans have experience, and how humans, I may say, interact with their environment, and how we process our experiences. So she tell us that we need to see the humans, that we all have this main need, that it's to belong to somewhere, to belong to a community, to belong to a place, um, uh, to certain context. And of course, we are still missing the key idea, or the key point of these topics, because we we still seeing some the commitment as something that we need to uh, encourage people to take it to the limit, or for example the workload, for example, and people trying to always fit in some places, and that can bring us a lot of stress, and of course that breaks the limit of the well-being or wellness. And Susan recognized the other participations, that we need to see this as a whole. For example, with the need of wellness and well-being, we need, as William said, we need to have these concepts together to better understand what we can do on these topics. So that's what I may say, that Susan, participation. It's the first time I'm doing like an exercise of translation, so I hope I'm doing my best.
No, I think you're doing a gem of a job. Thank you so much for doing this.
Okay.
Great. I'll quickly want to hear from Willem and then come back to Gabriel for your own personal thoughts on this conversation as well.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Shivani. Belém Ortega from Mexico. I'm a leadership and well-being consultant. And it really it caught my eye, all this, the things that you're sharing. And it's really all about what I have to say as well. When we say that we need to belong, and at the same time, wellness or well-being is not a separate layer. It should be intrinsic within the organization. And in that sense, my perspective, what we're still doing wrong, is that well-being is not, it continues to live in a nice to have for some organizations, but it should be treated as a framework. And not only it should be intentional as well and measurable, and at the same time it should be consistently nurtured. So we having that level of follow-up, so we can avoid erosion from our colleagues or our employees, through cultural gaps, through leadership practices that disconnect people from trust, from being meaningful, and supporting. It should be an operating model, and it should be reflected in how people is welcome, how policies are experienced, how teams collaborate to each other, and how safe employees feel to speak, to contribute, and to belong. That is one of the things that my colleagues, my fellow speakers mentioned before. And when you reunite all of that, that's when well-being stops being performative and it starts becoming sustainable.
Thank you. Gabriel, over to you.
Belén, tengo entendido que eres de México. ¿Te gustaría explicarlo tú?
Sí, claro. Hablaba de que generalmente en las empresas en la actualidad se ve el well-being o el wellness como una algo bueno para tener, pero no hay un framework que sea medible para toda la empresa, que puedas basarte de ahí para poder desplegarlo y hacer un propio seguimiento de él. Y esto pues no desaparece en una sola, no desaparece pronto, sino que se va erosionando poco a poco y pues la gente va viendo algunos desalineamientos culturales, no ve muy alineado el liderazgo con lo que se está hablando y pues dejan de tener esa confianza de poder expresarse, de poder, tiene que ser un modelo operativo donde se vea que la gente está colaborando, que la gente se siente segura de hablar, de contribuir, de no tener miedo, ¿no? A poderse expresar. Y pues aquí es cuando eso sucede, cuando todo esto se reúne de una muy buena manera y se expresa en su mejor momento, pues ya el well-being deja de ser performativo y comienza a ser sostenible.
Gracias, Julia.
Thank you. So, Gabriel, your own personal thoughts, and then we close this segment to move on to our fishbowl conversations to take this ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, of course, I'll try to be quick because I know we are running out of time. So I totally agree on what my peers, my colleagues have shared before. The well-being and the wellness as a system, as a something more, how we design work to make it better for all of us, including leaders, including the organization and including employees. So I'm just going to add that something that we still got wrong is that we missed this part of how I'm a psychologist, I am an organizational psychologist, and something that we might miss is that we build ourselves, we build our identity through work itself, and I think this is something that we still have, like we are missing this perspective, and of course we as employees and we as leaders and we as advisors of these leaders, we build ourselves throughout the work, through our activities, and I believe this is something that we might be missing because I believe that these kind of topics on the philosophical side or philosophical perspectives, because we are so so into the system of being being like I don't know how to say it. It's like be productive, like always trying to get more, and get more, do more. And I believe that we might lose ourselves in that dynamic. So that's the thing that I think that we're missing right now, and that's my participation to the table. Thank you. Y para poderlo traducir, lo que me refiero es que seguimos perdiendo de alguna manera, digo, estoy de acuerdo con lo que han compartido hasta ahora mis colegas, seguimos perdiendo de vista que también a través del trabajo nos construimos y también a través del trabajo nos desarrollamos identidades, y no solo las como individuos, sino también los líderes, las organizaciones, y creo que es una perspectiva que a veces podemos contemplar como filosófica y creo que por eso se deja a un lado. Entonces nosotros nos construimos a través del trabajo también. So that's my participation. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for getting this conversation started, everyone. I know we started on a little bit slower note, but we're okay. I think we're still figuring out what's still wrong with what we're still getting wrong with well-being at work. But as we move ahead, and hopefully in the next 45-ish minutes, we will come to the depth of it. What we're going to do is we're going to move to our fishbowl conversation. And to be very honest, hosting this all day, I have gotten a little bored with the previous format. So what we're going to do is we're going to have, now that I see, I think an even number of speakers here. Two of you will be spotlit at one point, and we're going to think about the conversation, then two more, then two more. So we'll have pairs go at a time. And of course, we'll need Gabriel there to listen and summarize what the pairs have come up with. So therefore, you don't have to do each conversation, you just have to do the
Okay.
summary of the pairs. Right? Perfect. So first spotlight pair, if you could just summarize this and then I'll move ahead for the segment.
Yeah, of course. Susan, lo que comentan es que ahora vamos a pasar al formato de Fishbowl Conversation, y lo que vamos a hacer es que al parecer vamos a estar como en pares, si no entendí mal, y que vamos a crear como la conversación y vamos a hacer la reflexión sobre esta pregunta de realmente como que tenemos que pensar todavía fundamentalmente en el desempeño, en el liderazgo, en la cultura, y van a estar como dándole foco a cada pareja, si no entendí mal.
Sí.
Sí.
Perfect. So the first pair so I'm going to take all of you off spotlight and put the first pairs on. And here we go. Very random, okay? I was not put up to this on purpose. So we will have, I think we'll do Devasmita with William for the first pair. Yeah. And
All
I
right.
will slowly go off. So here you go. And I'll come right in when like 2.5 minutes are over.
Okay, thank you, Shivani. Hi, William.
Hi. And
Would you like to go ahead? It would be nice to hear what you have to say.
sure, I'd be happy to. As I think about leadership, policy, and culture, I don't think that the system, if you will, breaks down in just one of these areas. My observation over the 30 some odd years that I've been in worksite wellness or well-being is I think where we excuse me, I think where we break down is the gap between the different elements. So what I think is that as I said, we've got to look at the whole thing as a system and how the 3 or 4 or 5 elements, whatever we want to put into the system, are aligned with each other. And I think that's the future. So the question that I encourage employers and practitioners to ask themselves is, in your organization, where do you see the biggest gaps between what we say or what you say about well-being and what employees are actually experiencing day-to-day basis, trying to get at the gaps. So that's where I sort of come from on this issue.
Right, right. And I agree with you on that. It is the gaps. I had a few additional thoughts. So, some of the things that I have seen in my experience working with workplaces is a lot of times the leaders are thinking in the right direction. They would set the right goals and the right vision and even the right policies. But as it comes down the ranks, it gets lost in translation and in the pressure to perform. So when we look at middle or lower middle management, their priorities are very different. They are not looking at the bigger picture. They are not looking at people at scale. So they're prioritizing just their targets and their performance. And I think that's one of those very specific places where, well-being gets lost in organizations. I had a slightly different take, though, which I want to share. And there are these 4 elements that I think that are extremely important for every individual at work, whether it is, the guy helping us park at the entrance or the CEO of the organization. I think those 4 items, as I understand them, would be pay, would be energy, like one's own energy, one's own time, and dignity. Right? So these are the 4 things I think if we are able to balance these for people, we would naturally see a high well-being among people. And going back to what you were saying earlier, William, that it does not have to be an additive, an initiative that kind of sits on top of everything else. If we get these 4 elements right, I think we will see a baseline improvement in well-being, which is embedded in the business itself. Which brings me to the most important place where I think well-being is slipping is when we make the business decisions, when we are factoring in manpower against deliverables, against targets. I think those are the spaces where we need to talk about sustainability and well-being. And if we do that, I think it is going to be so deeply embedded in the DNA of the workplace that we'll not need these curative measures to fix well-being. So that's my take. I don't know if our 2.5 minutes are up, but if you have any thoughts, William, I'd love to hear them.
I think you raised some great points. We know historically that we've focused on the individual, and the question that I would ask, and that I do ask, is what do we have to show for 50 years, at least here in the United States, 50 years of focusing in on the individual? And I think we don't have much to show for it. So yeah. I think while we've got to continue, well-being is a function of both the individual employee and the work and the workplace environment, and how those two fit together, the interplay between the two. Mm-hmm. So we focused for a long time on the individual. I think now we've got to focus more on the organizational level going forward. And let's see if we want, let's look out 50 years or wait 50 years and let's see where we're at and see how well we've done. And hopefully we've, as we'll talk about in the letter to the future, or the letter from the future, we might be surprised.
I'll leave one thought for perhaps the speakers coming up next. So I think in the last 5 years, the emphasis on well-being across organizations around the world has been the highest ever, right? And we would expect that well-being would rise. But on the contrary, the numbers of burnout, the numbers of people experiencing anxiety in the workplace have been constantly rising. I'm, currently in the process of completing a report, and I can just quickly share that in India, in some of the workplaces that we work with, the number of people who are experiencing severe anxiety has gone up by 10 percentage points in just 1 year, when the efforts have been, at least in India, at their epitome, right? So that is something that I'm still trying to reconcile with in my head, and, looking forward to answers, I think.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Debasmita and William. I think we'll come to our summary by Gabriel quickly and then move on to our next pair. So adding Gabriel on. Gabriel, we're good to go, right? Just adding you on here. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, and I'll be quick because I understand the timing, of course. Básicamente lo que nos comparte es justamente que estos aspectos de la organización los solemos ver como elementos diferentes, que inclusive la misma pregunta así lo plantea. Sin embargo, más que nos debemos enfocar fundamentalmente en cuál de esos o en cuáles las empresas siguen enfocando, debería ser más bien en el espacio que existe entre cada uno de ellos y cómo verlos como un sistema en sí, y básicamente ese es el futuro, ¿no? Realmente motivar a las personas a que se enfoquen en dónde existen estos como espacios, estas brechas, y como tal, siempre buscar esa retroalimentación, porque hay cosas muy diferentes entre el bienestar que tratamos de transmitir a todas las personas, a todos nuestros empleados, incluso a los líderes, y la manera en cómo lo vivimos o cómo lo viven. Yo creo que esa es una de las cosas más importantes, y justamente se hace la retroalimentación de que justo se trabaja mucho en la parte de que los empleados son evaluados más que nada por lo que saben hacer y que sean lo suficientemente capaces para trabajar cuando dejamos de vista estas otras perspectivas. Lo voy a dejar así resumido para no tomar tanto tiempo. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Please stay right there. Monica is going to join you for your part of this fishbowl conversation. And then finally, we'll have Suzanne and Bellum take up the last pair. So please let our audience know that quickly.
Sorry, it's going to be myself and
You and Monica now, and then after
Okay.
that, Suzanne and Bellum will pair up, and that would be it. That would end our fishbowl conversation.
Perfecto. Ahora vamos a estar yo y nuestra compañera Susan, y después van a ser Belén y, perdón, Mónica, perdón, y después van a ser Susan y Belén.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, our fishbowl conversation today is, after everything that we have talked about, I know we're still getting things wrong. So where must organizations fundamentally rethink work? Do we have a space to really point fingers and say, this is where we need to rethink it?
Do you have thoughts right away, Gabriel?
Yes, of course. Do you want me to begin?
Sure.
Of course. Yeah, totally. I believe that this is something that we might experience through the years, because I believe that we all, as we have knowledge about how things should be, but of course in the practice are different, and of course we need to always bring initiatives and be proactive on what can we do different, of course. And I believe that some of the things that we need to address is the approach that the organization have with this kind of topics, because of course we think about systems, we think about processes, we think about KPIs, and we think about how things need to be done. But I believe we miss the part on the how, and I believe that we miss this connection, this personal approach, and we might forget that we as people, we have different ways to process different experiences, and of course, I mean, the culture is different on my perspective. The leadership that I have or that I can experience from my leaders is different, and of course, the performance that I believe is the right way. It's going to be different, because I think this is something that is subjective, and we still missing that part. Of course, it's really hard to address and it's really hard to measure, but I believe this is the new how. How can we point at these important things? And I believe what was mentioned before, it's really important, the gaps between those elements, and of course the gaps that are existing between the employees and the organization are needs to be important as well. What do you think?
I love it. Yes, I agree. I'm actually taking notes from everybody right now.
Excellent. I'm going to do the same with your participation.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think there's obviously a lot of different facets to this, but when we used to have how to best work with me meetings. When I would hire anybody new, or when we would do something, so we would know our greatest gifts on the team. We would know what really makes us angry and presses our buttons on the team, so that we didn't do that. We would know when somebody is stressed out or they're having a hard moment, what do you need from me? Do you need me to leave you alone? Do you want to go for a walk and talk about it? So it's individual, but it also builds the collective of the team. The company, as you said, is going to do whatever there to provide a service, and the company is there to make money.
Exactly.
And so we gotta do what they're paying us to do, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But the reason why we took this job in the first place or work for this company in the first place should be because we're excited, because we love
Yeah.
it, because we love our work. That's what Bill was saying. He's like, you got to love your work. Like, why are you doing this anyway? If you don't love it, individual, then you should probably work somewhere else or in a different role where you feel your heart beating, where
Yeah.
you're excited. Because if you came to work like that, like, I don't know about you, Gabriel, but I could do a lot of different jobs and be pretty happy. And then there's some that I would just melt. I would hate it, like spreadsheet. So I think, like, when we talk about these different layers, it's the work, it's the pulse. It is the culture of the company. It's the heartbeat of the company. And then you bring in all these other heartbeats that are excited to be part of that. And it varies, right? It's why there's a lot of different companies. But we're all, the company exists, the work exists because it provides a service to people. It provides something that didn't exist before, and it has to make money. And if companies don't make money, they're not going to be around to employ people, and then everybody suffers. Right? So
Excellent.
it's this like winding thing. So just to sum up, the work needs to be together. How best to work with me? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then identity through our work. It's the thing that we love to contribute and be part of. It's our talents. It's our unique best gifts. And then as Debasmita was saying, at our capacity. Not everybody has the same capacity of work. Somebody's 100% is somebody else's 20%. And there you get your levels of performance and all of that. Doesn't mean people are bad. They have different levels of capacity, and that needs to be recognized. How best to work with me,
Exactly.
Anyway, that's what I think.
And I totally agree with you, and I love your energy and how you express it and how you say it, and it is just like that. I really agree with you, and of course that got me to remind something that one of the leaders that I had in one of my previous jobs that breaks this like perspective that you bring to the table, like about making money. He says something that brings these two things together. He said, we are here to make money and make people happy. So I believe that these new perspectives we can bring it into the jobs, into the work environment. And I believe it didn't have to be like a position, it can be together, as you said. Of course we can see the individual, but we need to move to the collective perspective, of course.
Yeah.
And I really like how you said. And to add on the participation, and of course I believe that what you said, Monica, is that right? I don't see your. Okay, Monica, as you said, Monica, I think that sometimes organizations are not ready for these uncomfort conversations with their employees, and I believe that's why we still have this limit perspective of making money, because as you said, if I'm pretty sure that if they hear somebody that says that we are here just for the money, they are not going to hire them because they want them to be engaged. But at the same time, I think that's a part that the organization is also missing, because they say they just want money.
Yeah, it's like both. They have to go together in an ideal world. Yes. Thank you. Great thoughts.
Yeah, of course. And I really believe that these kind of conversations bring these ideas together. And I really love your participation, your ideas, Monica. Really nice to share thoughts with you.
Thank you. Please stay there, Gabriel. I'm adding Susanna for a quick summary of your conversation, and then we'll add Willem for Susanna's conversation with her.
Of course. And en la parte en que compartíamos Mónica y yo comencé con la idea de que justamente vemos estos elementos como separados. Fue algo que rescaté de la participación anterior y que obviamente son cuestiones que suelen ser subjetivas y que batallamos para ponerles ese foco de atención y no siempre va a significar lo mismo, ¿no? Y que incluso nos volvemos individuales, que fue algo que rescató Mónica, y que justamente nos metemos a esta perspectiva, a esta dinámica donde las empresas simplemente venden dinero cuando no es así. Nosotros también justamente buscamos las empresas para construirnos a nosotros mismos, para, justamente ella decía, ¿no? Amar nuestro trabajo, amar lo que hacemos, y cómo también esta parte del desempeño, de la cultura, a veces nos lleva a ser individuales, porque es qué necesita cada uno, lo cual se entiende. Sin embargo, también es qué necesitamos como un colectivo, ¿no? Y ya al final, pues agregamos como esta parte de cómo podemos traer esta perspectiva como tal a los procesos o a la cultura como tal. Digo, eso a grandes rasgos, ¿no? Listo.
Lovely. Susan, please stay there. You are going to be joined by Balaam, and feel free to speak in Spanish, please.
Okay. I would like to start to say what I have to say in English, and then I will translate that to Susana so we can go on with the conversation, if you're okay with that. Shivani?
Yes, yes, of course, whatever works
Okay.
for you.
Ya, Susana, primero voy a dar mis pensamientos en inglés, mi perspectiva. Al final te los voy a traducir para de ahí poder tener la conversación tú y yo, ¿vale? Perfecto. Okay. I was really captivated by with the things that Monica and Gabriel mentioned, because in all that sense, I think that culture should be the base, should be the breakdown for all this well-being situation. And why? Because when you see this going on since when it's intrinsic in the company, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't look forced, and it doesn't look like it doesn't have a basis, right? For example, I used to work in this company, and I have to say it's the company that I will go back without hesitation, because they really have this cultural well-being, employee based, and I don't know anyone who wasn't happy to work there. And I was really proud to be part of that organization, and I was really proud to help others, and I was really involved in these well-being activities for my team. I was in the quality team by then, but I was working so closely in gathering them and make team buildings so that we can grow and we can know each other and how we can communicate, and that's really helpful. I was actually it was so really well performed, this cultural based, that the same company gives you tons of opportunities. Like, I was an internal auditor. I never imagined that I could be an auditor, because when you hear the word auditor, you instantly you get afraid, or you fear. Oh, what is he's gonna ask? What is gonna be? What is gonna happen? But really, the way that they have to audit, I mean, it was, I don't know if I'm okay if I mention the company, but at the same time, it was a place, a previous friends told me that it was a happy place. It was a factory of happiness. I was totally agree. Not even because the things that we make there, but in how the culture was really, really intrinsic. The company was the Lego Group. It's Lego, and it was based in Monterrey, Mexico. And well, it was, for me, that was my greatest example when culture and well-being are merged. Okay, and now I'm gonna translate to Susana. Yo les comentaba a Susana que desde mi perspectiva, la parte cultural es la que se debe tomar, bueno, desde mi perspectiva, no tomar, sino que la cultura de la organización debe estar bien enraizada para que se pueda dar de manera natural. Porque yo les comentaba un ejemplo muy propio, donde yo estuve en una compañía que la verdad a mí me dejó bastante, con muy buen sabor de boca el haber trabajado ahí, el ver cómo la cultura sí se vivía en el día a día, el cómo sí era permeada a todos los integrantes de la empresa, y que yo no conocía a ninguna persona que no le gustaba trabajar ahí. O sea, realmente todos iban contentos de trabajar, y que también en mi experiencia pues nos daba muchas oportunidades, y que llegué a ser un auditor interno, que a mí jamás se me hubiera ocurrido ser auditor, porque cuando dices la palabra auditor, pues como que te cambia el chip y dices, ay, qué miedo, ¿no? ¿Qué me va a preguntar? ¿Qué va a pasar? Entonces les digo que tienen una manera muy particular de llevar, por ejemplo, sus auditorías, y que es una empresa, la única empresa a la que yo volvería sin pensarlo, y les decía que es Lego, el grupo Lego.
Ok.
¿Cómo ves esta parte de la cultura? ¿Crees que va por ahí o cuál es tu perspectiva?
Me quedé pensando realmente, creo que cuando las personas sienten que forman parte de algo que es grande, pero también que les pone un valor. Entiendo que todas las personas necesitamos sentirnos valiosas. Yo creo que hay algo de base eh, frente a la pregunta que deberían hacer las empresas. Yo creo que hay algunas señales que todo el mundo ve, pero que no están declaradas, es decir, y
Claro.
que entrampan la sobreexigencia esta de la que hablábamos antes. Yo creo que ninguna persona, y justo esto lo digo desde mi rol, ninguna persona con su sistema nervioso activado va a tener un buen desempeño. Entonces, la sensación es que muchas veces estamos como con el sesgo de aversión a la pérdida, ¿no?
Sí.
Desde la empresa, es decir, por no perder, terminamos perdiendo el recurso humano porque está funcionando con dificultad, porque no se siente bien. Y en este sentido, bienestar, decíamos, por ahí hay una diferencia en inglés que en español, pero es imposible el bienestar sin salud, creo. Así que en ese sentido, la palabra la podemos integrar desde el español. Esto que decías de una cultura sólida que les da identidad, que obviamente a todos el trabajo nos toca la identidad, pero cuando sentimos que somos valorados, que somos vistos y que son respetadas nuestras bases. Yo insisto mucho en que hay cuestiones de salud que se descuidan en los trabajos. Creo que ahí se empieza a romper el bienestar. Cuando una persona se siente exigida, pero más allá de que se sienta exigida porque necesita tener cierto desempeño. A veces la exigencia tiene que ver con dar de más, ¿no? Como descuidar cuestiones fisiológicas básicas como descansar, como alimentarse. Digo, muchas veces pasan estas cosas y a veces esas cosas son premiadas. Entonces, creo que ahí tenemos ¿no? Como un pequeño desperfecto cuando empezamos a premiar a quien se sobreimplica, a quien se exige de más, y entonces empezamos a poner un modelo de cómo deberían ser las cosas. Y entonces entiendo que ahí tenemos un punto que por ahí las empresas deberían revisar, ¿no? Estas señales medio invisibles. Con respecto a la cultura, de lo que vos decías, me encanta, me parece que bueno esa empresa. Conozco empresas que ponen mucho empeño en respetar la individualidad de las personas, respetar y valorar lo que están dando y su esfuerzo, y es hermoso trabajar en lugares así, obviamente,
Sí.
pero no sé qué están diciendo. Bueno, no sé.
Y como dices, en muchos lugares se naturaliza la presión, se naturaliza esa parte de la urgencia, el estar siempre en modo urgencia, modo activado, que realmente ya no estás dando lo mejor de ti ahí, ya estás dando tu límite ahí donde que puedes y estás dando un poquito más y ahí es donde pues ya
Exacto, por eso te
podrías.
decía lo de aversión a la pérdida, ¿no? Porque en realidad es como, bueno, exigimos mucho para no perder, porque necesitamos ganar, que es lo lógico, pero muchas veces la aversión a la pérdida lo que tiene es esto, ¿no? Es un sesgo completamente irracional, pero que todos lo actuamos. Entonces,
Claro,
termino perdiendo calidad, termino perdiendo recursos, termino perdiendo lo que quiero conseguir.
exactamente. Sí, súper sí.
Okay.
Shivani,
En fin, entonces, ok, sí.
Thank you so much, pulling Gabriel quickly in to give us a quick summary on this. And also, please, Suzanne, if you have any final thoughts that we stopped in the mid. So please share.
Excellent. So Belém and Susan, they have this opportunity to share a particular experience with they experience a company that they had this like well-being culture, and for example, Belém saw this difference, and of course, this is something that people mentioned that they were really happy working there. And Susan also add that it's kind of it's kind of funny that we might have this fear of losing something, but in the way we lose that we are afraid to losing because of um, not putting ourselves in priority because the demands of the jobs, or for example the high expectations that the context has for us. And of course we lose ourselves and we lose sight of what's really important. And I believe that actually the experience that they share is actually important because it shows us that when a company brings this into the culture, it's really changing the concept and perspectives. So that's a summary that what they share with us.
Thank you so much. Gracias. Thank you so much. Little bit of Spanish. I'm trying now. I think I should learn
Really
Spanish. It does sound very nice in Spanish.
good. It sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. I would have loved to hear those, perspectives that they both shared. But I think that, of course, we'll keep continuing this conversation. Thank you again, Suzanne and Belen, for having that discussion, and to the rest of our panel members. So overall, I think I'm sort of taking away two major things. One is when we really need to fundamentally rethink what we are doing, what we need to sort of rethink when it comes to workplace well-being, is that move the focus from individuals to organizations, because there's enough data that's telling us, well, maybe there's not enough data that's giving us data about individuals. So move individual focus to organization focus. And the other one that I think the other two pairs spoke about was definitely performance, and how we measure performance is can be now linked to well-being, and the outcome of it would be culture. So those are my takeaways from this fishbowl. We will quickly summarize this, and the next that we have is the letters from the future. And for that, the what we will be doing is each speaker is going to come on spotlight, and we're going to share the letter from the future. And you are please keep it concise, keep it short. You can share the entire letter on WhatsApp or LinkedIn for us later, but due to time constraints, just keep it concise and keep it short. So thank you, Gabrielle. Please summarize.
Sí, nos comparten es que hizo un resumen justamente de las ideas importantes y cómo podemos agregar la parte del bienestar como incluso un KPI más y justamente cómo lo podemos integrar a los procesos para verlo. Vamos a pasar a la parte de las cartas para el futuro. No, vamos a mantenerlo corto, vamos a mantenerlo eficiente en el sentido de los tiempos y si queremos compartirla completa, lo podemos hacer por WhatsApp o por LinkedIn en el momento. Y ya vamos a pasar a cartas al futuro.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so for our audience here, we're moving to the second last segment for this fourth segment that we have. And as we've been doing all day, we also want to hear from our current panel members, their letters from the future. So again, we're imagining a time where we are in 2036 or somewhere 10 years from now. And we are now looking back and sending ourselves a letter of something that we figured out, right? And here in this case, we want to talk about what the world finally understood about human sustainability. What did the world finally understand about human sustainability that we're so excited 10 years from now to write ourselves a letter and say, hey, 2026, this is what we finally learned about human sustainability. So our speakers are going to come in one by one and share a little bit of their letters for all of us to see. So I'll first start with Monica. I'm pulling you in. Gabriel, please summarize, and then I will pull Monica in. If you prefer, you can write it on the chat as well, if that is something you prefer. Yeah, okay, you can write it on the chat. Perfect. So I'll pull Monica in quickly so we can get started with her letter from the future.
Ready? Okay. Hi, it's the future workplace. Pulling from Ayurveda, the science of longevity, we figured out that when people are working there in a way that their unique gifts are built for, people thrive. We understand this is called Dharma, the essence of our unique existence. It's the reason we each took a birth and fuel behind the way we serve and work. If people don't use their gifts or feel like they are not serving anybody, they get out our employees and we shine in their roles, functioning at a high level, feel like they're contributing, and burnout is no longer a thing. Mental health has improved dramatically because we've educated and empowered our staff. Yes, we have Ayurveda charts around the office on how to take care of their mind-body well-being before they even step foot into the day. And yes, there's an office. We realized that working remote took the humanness out of it a bit. We have robots who work remote for us now, so we can get back to collaborating, innovating, and being together with our five senses. After all, lunch with coworkers, laughing around the water cooler, and enjoying some nuts at happy hour is very human and quite fun, at least where I work. We also support local charities and organizations through donations and volunteers. It's impossible to be sad when you're helping others and watching their faces light up with gratitude. So now we have balanced employees who love their jobs, and because of that, a thriving business. We just became #1 in the world because of how we run things here. Life is pretty sweet. Oh, and we're hiring. Referral bonus if you know anyone great. There's my letter.
Beautiful. Very energetic, very Monica Bloom. Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you.
I will pull in Will. You are here, and your letter from the future.
Dear colleague of 2026, when we look back at the conversations employers were having about workplace well-being 10 years ago, remember a time of good intentions and growing awareness. By 2026, most organizations had begun to acknowledge the stress, burnout, and mental health mattered. Some even acknowledged that these issues mattered a lot. Leaders were talking about well-being more openly than ever before. Programs were expanding, and many workplaces were experimenting with new ways to support their employees. But what we didn't fully understand at the time was something that now seems almost obvious. We thought well-being was something organizations provided. Over the past decade, we've come to understand that well-being is something that emerges from how work itself is experienced. Employees were never experiencing work primarily through well-being programs. They were experiencing work through their workload, their manager, the clarity of expectations, the pace of work, and the degree of trust within their team or work unit. Once employers began paying closer attention to these everyday work conditions, many of the well-being challenges that we saw in 2026 seemed easier to understand. Another lesson that emerged over the last 10 years is our learning that human capacity is not unlimited. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, employers have operated under the assumption that with enough motivation, resilience, productivity tools, and other add-ons, that people could continuously absorb more work. But by the early 2030s, it became clear to many of us that sustainable performance required respecting the limits of human cognitive and emotional capacity. Workplaces that ignored these limits struggled or continued to struggle with burnout, turnover, and declining creativity. The organizations that adapted successfully were the ones that learned to design work in ways that provided and protected focus, supported recovery, and allowed people to sustain their contribution over time. Perhaps the most important realization over the last 10 years was this: human well-being is never separate from organizational performance. In knowledge-driven workplaces, the energy, attention, and creativity of people turned out to be one of the most valuable resources organizations possessed. Once leaders understood that protecting human capacity was not a distraction from performance, but a condition of performance, the conversation about well-being began to change. Looking back, the lessons we've learned since 2026 seem simple. Organizations finally understand that improving workplace well-being was not primarily about introducing better or bigger programs. It was about creating work environments where human beings could sustain their energy, clarity, and contribution over time. The organizations that are thriving today are not necessarily the ones with the best or the most well-being initiatives. They are the ones that learned how to design work that human beings could sustain. Best wishes to you, Bill McPeck, your colleague from the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, pulling in Suzanne. Susanna, here we go. We'd love to hear your letter. Just a moment.
Ok.
All right. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay.
Leo mi carta.
Just a second, Gabriel. Adding.
Justamente en esta, sorry, in this part, Susan is going to read the letter full in Spanish, and then she will share the letter with us, and then we will translate it. But for now, she will share it just in Spanish,
Perfect.
and I won't be translating this one.
Perfecto. Perfecto. Let's go.
Ok. Hola, escribo esta carta para decirles que recién hoy nos hemos dado cuenta que durante años hemos quedado atrapados en el sesgo de aversión a la pérdida. Esto fue generando algo diferente de lo que decíamos y de lo que esperábamos. Queríamos personas felices y viviendo en el bienestar, pero eso no puede lograrse si no contemplamos las necesidades básicas de los humanos. Hemos llamado responsabilidad a lo que en realidad era sobreexigencia. Aplaudimos la sobreimplicación sin ver el costo, personas intentando sostener su valor a través de agradar, complacer o resaltar. Confundimos disponibilidad con compromiso y roles y ascensos con valor personal. Esto desdibujó los límites. Ningún sistema es sostenible si su base es el autoabandono. Porque el bienestar es un estado de salud física, mental y social en que la persona no solo puede desarrollarse, adaptarse y desenvolverse con sentido. Eso jamás puede lograrse con un sistema que siente riesgo de desvalorización. Si no se exige para agradar, ascender o pertenecer. Ese día que nos dimos cuenta de esto, empezamos a diseñar otras formas de trabajo. Gracias.
Gracias. Bueno, Susanna. I will now call Devasmita. Devasmita Sinha, are you ready to go? Right. Over to you.
Okay, thanks. So I'm gonna not read the entire letter in the interest of time, but when I write back from 2036, a lot has happened. So, anxiety or the global burden of health has worsened before it's gotten better. The wars have left us depleted before we've, learned to stop them. So all of that has happened, and the future me writes back about all of that. But then she says that you were trying to fix systems then, but maybe they needed to fail, and it wasn't such a bad thing. Like numerous times in history, human sustainability emerged from its limits being violently and undeniably reached. A generation burned, yes, psychologically, economically, existentially, so that the next one could learn something simple yet radical: slow. Slowing down not as a luxury but as survival. So a lot of things slowed. Attention slowed, decisions slowed, growth slowed. For the first time, pace became an ethical question. And it wasn't so much of a rebellion, but more of a persistent refusal to self abandon. That no did what policies could not. It introduced friction into systems that depended on silent compliance. What emerged slowly is what we now call the enough culture. It's not against work, it's not against productivity, but it is calibrated, it is intentional. A culture where stopping is not failure and restraint is not weakness. We did not collapse because we were weak, because we collapsed because we endured what should never have been normalized. And when we finally stopped enduring, when we say no, the world is forced to recognize. You were trying to reach sustainability. What you were really doing was preparing people to refuse. So stay with it. That's my
Beautiful.
letter, Shivani.
Thank you so much, Devasnata. Gabriel, you're next.
Yes, of course. I'm going to be quick, and I'm going just to read some parts of the letter. Um, it's 2035, and looking back, the world finally understood that human sustainability was never about helping people cope. It was about redesigning work. They understood that people don't come to work only to complete tasks, to achieve goals. They come to build identity, to feel value, and to belong. And when that recognition was missing, the impact was not only personal, it affected performance, engagement, and the system as a whole. It is what the so the shift was clear. Organizations stopped asking how to make people more resilient. They started asking what in the way what in the way work was designed was creating unnecessary pressure and disconnection. And finally, we are built and shaped by work, but in the same way, we build and shape work. That's it.
Oh, I love that last line. Thank you so much. All right. We have Bellum. Bellum, pulling you in for your letter from the future.
Thank you. Okay. By 2035, organizations finally understood that human well being is not a perk or a side initiative, but a core business condition for people to thrive and perform. They realized that when employees are genuinely heard and given a voice, they feel seen, valued, and meaningful to the organization. That sense of validation creates more satisfaction. It sparks energy, strengthens engagement, boosts productivity, and deepens pride in being part of the workplace. In the end, organizations learn that well being grows where people feel they matter. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing your letters from the future. I'm just checking. Okay, perfect. What we're going to do now is we are going to now move on to our reflection round, which is the end of this segment. We have sort of absorbed a lot of knowledge, thoughts, feelings, emotions from each other, as well as probably while you were talking, I think you may have had multiple thoughts coming in and out. So we're going to take a real grounding reflection moment with all of us here. No cameras, nothing. You can take out your pen and paper wherever you feel comfortable to type or write on. Take 5 minutes to really gather your thoughts, absorb whatever we've learned from each other and ourselves throughout the last 1 hour 40 minutes, and we will then come back after 5 minutes to share what we are taking away from today, but with this perspective, which I'm going to project on the screen, which is new compared to the other segments, because all day we've been talking about what could other people do differently. But today's last segment's intention is going to be about, just a moment, yes, from insight to intention. What will each of us do differently tomorrow? So this is no longer about what will leaders do differently, what will HRs do differently, all of what we've spoken about in the previous segments. This is simply closing with what will each one of us do differently tomorrow, having had this conversation all day, and of course the experiences that we've all come with and shared with one another. So I will hand it over to Gabrielle to quickly summarize this, and then we will go into our 5 minutes of reflection and gathering of thoughts. And when we're ready, we'll come back live to do a sharing. Gabrielle, I'm just pulling you in. Don't, you won't be heard. Yes.
Ahora pasaremos a la reflexión, en cual estaremos contestando la siguiente idea, que es de la introspección o desde el insight a la intención. ¿Qué es lo que hará cada uno de nosotros diferente mañana? Vamos a reflexionar acerca de lo que hemos estado platicando, conversando, reflexionando entre todos y entre todas. Vamos a tomarnos unos 5 minutos para poder reflexionar, tomar notas. Podemos usar nuestras plumas, nuestros cuadernos para poder escribir. Y vamos a regresar después de 5 minutos para compartir lo que hemos reflexionado acerca de este tema. Listo. Ready.
Leave no trace. Dreams like bangles shattered, worn from silence deep. New ones are born. A thousand doomsday shifts isolate the wind. Whispers, don't you stay. A count of shadows stretched so long. Footsteps fade, where do I belong? Oh, heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. The cuckoo's chime, a distant call, her antlers sing rise. Don't you stay, the stars they glimmer, speak of pain. Each grain of sand, it knows my name. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Oh, heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Heart of mine, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. The cuckoo's chime, a distant call. Her anklets sing rise, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Her anklets sing a poem from silence deep. New ones are born. Peacocks cry in the storm's embrace. grain of sand, it knows my name. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Heart of my mind, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Heart of mine, why do you roam? Searching skies, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. The gungroos chime, a distant call. Her anklets sing, rise, never a home. The sun burns bright, the night so cold. Feelings buried, stories untold. Can you hear it, the voice within? A song of loss where love begins. Her anklets sing a poem from silence deep. New ones are born. Peacocks cry in the storm's embrace. Clouds that gather leave no trace. Dreams like bangles shattered, worn from silence deep. New ones are born.
Okay, and we are back to our final sharing. And for our final segment, today has been a crazy learning journey for me. I hope it's been a crazy learning journey for all of you who are watching and interacting with us, or who might watch this later after we've published it all across. I will now invite all of my speakers back to the platform, just as we did in our first round. Remember, we are really sharing our intention and our reflections now. So it's not so much about, and we're looking within for this reflection, which is very different compared to the other reflection rounds that we did today, where we looked outwards, we looked at other roles and responsibilities. But here we're going to be talking about what is something that we are going to do differently starting tomorrow. Gabriel?
Yes, you want me to translate?
Yes, please.
Excellent. So, ahora pasaremos a la parte de la reflexión, a responder la pregunta. Va a ser diferente a las otras dinámicas que hemos tenido. Más que nada es como hablar sobre lo que hemos logrado reflexionar en este ejercicio y sobre todo hablar sobre la responsabilidad que nos toca a nosotros en este proceso y justamente iremos pasando para compartir nuestras reflexiones. Ready.
Perfecto. Let's start with Bellum this time. I think let's go that way. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Well-being starts within, and I will create a safe space, not only for my colleagues, but for my whole environment, to perform honest conversations, to bring meaningful outcomes, listen carefully, and receive any feedback is there for me. Because there is never too late to find myself there, in the apparent silence of my mistakes. Thank you.
Si gustas compartir en español ahora, Belén.
Sí. El well-being empieza desde adentro. voy a crear un espacio seguro, no solo para mis colegas, sino para todo mi ambiente, para poder tener conversaciones honestas que brinden resultados con propósito. Voy a escuchar atentamente cualquier feedback que me puedan otorgar, porque nunca es tarde para poder encontrarme en esos aparentes, en esos silenciosos errores que cometo.
Thank you. Monica.
Yeah, I just wanted to, in the reflection piece, I wanted to share, Deva Smita talked about the capacity, about how stopping also has tremendous value. That stuck with me. Gabrielle said, it's beyond the systems and to the human experience and contribution, which I loved. And Bill said, well-being is emerged from how the work is experienced by the person. And I loved that too. So thank you. That was my reflection. And then the part that what I'm going to take away from this is, honestly, this group has given me more bravery and permission, knowing I'm not such a strange blend in the world, to both have passion and like workplace, like both of them together, because we all care about this. So thanks to all of you for giving me that bravery. And for that, I would do differently tomorrow is I want to be more visible about my work and what I do, because it's not always about what somebody else wants us to do. It is, but sometimes before that, it's about, hey, this is what I'm really good at, and this is what I love. What do you know is out there for me? Do you know anybody? Could I be part of something? So I used to tell people that I represented when I was a recruiter the same thing. I used to say, tell me where you want to work. What is your dream? Where do you want to go part of? Because if I don't know your dreams, I can't help make them come true. So that's what I want to do going forward, is be more visible. It's fine if I have a weird blend of expertise. It's needed. And thank you for all of you for helping extract that today. It's a gift.
Go.
Perfect. So I'm going to translate. Mónica se quedó con diferentes aportaciones que varios de nosotros y varias de nosotras hicimos, como la parte de la capacidad, la parte de la experiencia humana, la parte de las contribuciones que podemos hacer como tal. Justamente lo que ella rescata como algo que va a ser diferente es que agradece muchísimo el espacio porque ha conectado con esta parte de sí misma, de su vocación, de su experiencia, y le hemos dado como ese permiso, ese valor para seguir trabajando estos temas. Y justamente reconoce que a todos nos interesa, y eso para ella es muy gratificante, porque se da cuenta de que lo que siente tiene que hacer es hacer más visible lo que hace y más visible su trabajo. Y nos agradece porque gracias a esto pudo ella entenderlo mejor, y que va a ayudar como en esta parte del proceso de las personas a entender qué es lo que les gusta, qué es lo que aman, y cuando busquen este trabajo, ¿no? Que buscan desarrollarse mejor. Listo.
Thank you. We'd like to hear from Susanna.
Bueno, desde mañana me propongo trabajar en la coherencia. Me gusta esto que decía Mónica, porque siento lo mismo, como un nuevo compromiso con esto que hacemos, ¿no? Y este trabajar en la coherencia consiste en dejar de hablar de un desempeño sostenible y de bienestar sin tener el compromiso real de buscar las condiciones para que así sea. Desde mi lugar, ese es mi plan, y eso es lo que me propongo hacer. Muchas gracias por este espacio que invita a reconectar con esto, que en algún punto también es una gran responsabilidad de todos nosotros. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Susan. Susan, she's really grateful for the opportunity. She's really grateful for this space, and she feels what Monica said about that she can connect with her experience, with her passion, with her way of doing things. So she thinks that this is something that she will be start doing tomorrow to be that commitment and how can I say it? I'm looking for the perfect word for this, and I'm going to look for it. Like being looking for coherence.
Coherence.
No, coherence. Sorry,
Gracias.
coherence. That's not a word that I used to use in English. So coherence with uh, what we are doing, what we want to achieve, and she's really grateful that we could connect in these topics, and we encourage her to keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Devasmita.
Thanks, Shivani. So, a lot of things that came up, and thank you for sharing everything that all of you have shared. Monica, particularly, thanks for reminding me that how fortunate I am to be working in an area that where my passion lies. You know, you tend to forget that on a day-to-day basis, but even from what everybody else said about well-being not being initiatives anymore, about bringing back the humanness and the connection network, and continuing to talk about it. So the visibility bit is again something that really stuck with me. But what will I do differently? I think I'm going to ensure that there's at least one practice of well-being that I do, and preferably with somebody else, because well-being is, at the end of the day, neural networks you build. It is a practice. So that's one thing. The other thing that I think I will do differently is to frequently revisit and align my energy, my sense of purpose, and my actions. I think we know where they lie, but again, when you're working and there are so many things happening, you kind of lose sight of that. So just revisit that alignment very often. And lastly, talk about what you do, like the visibility about your work, because it's not enough and there's so much to be done. So I think those are some of my reflections and intentions. Thank you, Shivani.
Justamente lo que comparte es que agradece muchísimo por la oportunidad, por el espacio igual de conectar. Agradece a Mónica justamente por esta parte de ayudarle a darse cuenta. Dice que lo que se compromete será practicar el bienestar, porque ella lo considera una práctica consciente que se tiene que estar realizando. Revisitar como su energía, su sentido de propósito, porque a veces podemos perder como de vista eso. Y agradece que en estos espacios justamente tiene como esa parte de volver a entender su propósito como tal y volver hacer toda la práctica como tal. Gracias.
Thank you. Gabriel, your thoughts?
Yeah, of course, if I can summarize my experience here in the summit is that I love it. I love the participations. I love the contributions. I love meeting with you, with all of you. And of course, I understanding and I appreciate all your contributions, because it makes me realize that we are on a stage of awareness, like a global awareness of well-being, and we are on the transition of the to be intentional, to bring into action. And I believe that some contexts of countries are advancing this stage, but each of us know our reality, and it's not easy to make this happen, and it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be challenging. And I commit myself to embrace this uncomfort. And of course, I'm going to be and I'm going to commit to accompanying the organizations, the leaders, and the employees into this transition. And I believe that I can be more challenging about these topics because, as many of us mentioned, it is something that we might understand that is important, but we need to uh, um, make them understand the importance of this. And we need, if we want to make a real change, we need to move forward together. And I believe that we don't need to make this alone, like these changes. And I believe that we are in a good way, we're in a good uh, moment. And I really like what you have brought to me, because sometimes I lose myself, as you mentioned before. And I believe that you encourage me to keep doing this. Thank you. Como tal, como resumen, es de que me doy cuenta que estamos en la parte de la conciencia, en que creo que muchos de nosotros somos conscientes de que es importante, hemos hecho diferentes cambios en diferentes contextos, sin embargo, todavía falta mucho por hacer, y yo creo que ese es el compromiso que nos llevamos, y sobre todo yo me llevo a abrazar la incomodidad, a llevar a cabo las conversaciones incómodas y acompañar justamente a los líderes, a las organizaciones a pasar esta transición. Y yo sé que es un reto, pero si queremos un cambio real, lo que necesitamos es movernos juntos y no solos ni solas. Thank you.
So, Bill, over to you.
As I reflect on or think about our conversation this morning, it reminded me of how complex a sandbox we choose for our careers and sandbox we choose to play in on a daily basis. And this complexity is organizationally based, it's individually based on our human systems, and overlaying on top of both of those are the VUCA, or the complex world that we live in today. So going forward, one of the things we talked about this morning was value. And going forward, I'm going to really try to look at how I can incorporate value, both the individual value and organizational value, as I go forward. And then a special thanks to Gabrielle for reminding me the importance of work and identity, because my personal work plan for 2026 is the second half of the year, I'm going to focus on identity and self-identity. I guess that's the same thing. And so thank you, Gabrielle, for reminding me of the importance of the work in our sense of self and our identity. So
My pleasure.
that's
William.
where I'm going future.
Thank you, William. I really appreciate it. To translate, entiende mucho la complejidad en donde estamos inmersos, de los sistemas, de nosotros como personas, y que es una respuesta al mundo complejo en el que vivimos, que tenemos que seguir moviéndonos hacia adelante, y que justamente valora esta aportación de recordar la construcción individual a través del trabajo, porque es algo lo que va a estar trabajando como en esta segunda parte del 2026. Y yo obviamente le agradecí también a William como la mención, y listo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your reflections. And all I want to sum up with this segment today is maybe the next phase is not so much about doing more, because every time we're trying to build a new product or a new service or a new initiative or something new every time, maybe the real rethinking has to be where we re-look at things that we are taking for granted, And sometimes we are taking ourselves for granted. Sometimes we're taking the people around us for granted. And I feel like that's where we need to start rethinking. And we need to relook at that with a little bit, with this lens called as kindness, which is something, I know it may sound cliche or cringy or whatever, but at the end of the day, that's what works. And I never thought there would be a place where I would use this quote, but my childhood friend used to always say something, and I'm going to say it because it's in Spanish. And she used to say, con un poco de cariño, with a little bit of kindness. And
Really
today
good.
was the perfect place for me to bring this up. So I'm so grateful because while I was reflecting, I was thinking about that particular line. So thank you everyone for coming in, and Gabrielle, of course.
Yeah, sure. I missed some part because I had a problem with my connection, but I will try to do my best. Agradece muchísimo por la oportunidad. Sí que estuvo pensando mucho en la frase de mucho con cariño, que creo que eso sí lo logramos entender, y que habla de la experiencia que también tuvo a través de estar escuchándonos durante todo el evento. Digo, hay unas partes que perdí al principio, pero en general creo que rescaté eso. Gracias.
Thank you. I will now pull in our chief guest, should I say, or the organizer, should I say, or the man behind the plan, should I say, who's here with us, Dr. Ashwin,
Hi,
to share
Ashwin.
your
Hello.
closing thoughts. Just a second. Why did he go off? Why did he go off? Yeah.
I'm
Hello,
here.
Ashwin.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. What a wonderful day it has been. And like I mentioned to a lot of you when we started this conversation, the idea was to bring different voices from around the world to talk about things that we all care about. And I think we've been blessed to have people from, I don't know, 15 countries and with different backgrounds. So it's been a great delight to have you all here. I want to thank all the speakers for joining us. I also want to especially thank Gabriel for his skills as an interpreter in Spanish and English.
Thank you. I did my
And
best.
yes, yes. And a special thanks to Shivani for anchoring this wonderfully through the day and doing a fantastic job. I think he deserves a huge round of kudos for this. Thank you, Shivani. And as we come to the end to this, I want to share that this is something that uh, uh, that we could continue with maybe in different contexts. And one of the things that has already been suggested to us is, can we have a global conversation around well-being of social entrepreneurs, which we will plan and then reach out to you, and we hope that you will continue to participate, support, and champion this. With that, thank you very much, and I hope to be in touch with all of you and continue this conversation. Thanks again, and have a good day or night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and we really appreciate the invitation. Thank you for sharing all your experience with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gabriel. If you could just do the closing thoughts for us and
Yes,
then
of course.
call it a day.
Ashby nos agradece muchísimo por la participación. Nos agradece muchísimo por el evento. Dice que fue un éxito. Nos agradece por estar al pendiente. Dice que a lo mejor esto es algo que pudiéramos en algún momento retomar en diferentes contextos, que nos mantengamos en contacto de alguna manera. Y en general, pues nos agradece muchísimo por la oportunidad de conectar entre todos y entre todas.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Again, for the audience that's always been, I mean, if you've been there throughout the day, I again want to reiterate that everybody that you saw speaking here today, They are not just great speakers. They're not just panel speakers or panel members. They are people who have taken charge of workplace well-being, worked on it for decades, researched on it, brought expertise on it, found insights and data on it, published books on it, and now there's a platform where they're sharing this out. So they are much more than speakers. They're catalysts of well-being, which is a term we came up with by segment 2. And they are change makers as well as real individuals who have gone out into the world and taken action for something that may have looked like wishful thinking 10 years back. So now that we've got a letter, I think we'll get somewhere 10 years from now. Thank you, everybody, for being part of our Global Wellbeing Workplace Wellbeing Summit 2026. And we will continue this conversation and see you all very, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you so much.